This is Hitoyoshi, and this dump of a house is his domain. One ordinary day, out of nowhere, a stunningly beautiful maid shows up at his door, asking if she could be hired as a servant. The shock nearly freezes him in place. Could this be the fateful encounter he never saw coming? He invites her inside his filthy, chaotic home, hurriedly justifying the mess by saying his parents are away, so things are a bit unkempt right now. Let me introduce this charming Lady Juki, a top-tier assassin. Yet, for reasons unknown, she wants to serve as a maid for Hitoyoshi. He's puzzled, unsure if she's joking or serious, and suspects she might be some shady dealer ready to kick her out at any moment. When he asks what tasks she can handle, Juki innocently replies that her job mostly involves assassination, eliminating traitors and enemies of her master. She explains she came here because her master sent her, leaving Hitoyoshi momentarily stunned. This feels straight out of a movie. Suddenly, he realizes that the more beautiful the girl, the more dangerous she probably is. He even thinks about hiring her as a bodyguard. But then, Juki reveals their connection. Hitoyoshi is the nephew of a woman living in the second branch of the master's extended family. Though he can't quite place her, it's clear they're distant relatives. Just to be sure, Hitoyoshi asks about her assassination skills and requests a demonstration. Without hesitation, they step into the garden. In a flash, Juki unleashes her hidden weapons with dazzling acrobatics, hurling knives straight into a tree trunk, making Hitoyoshi scream inside, "This isn't a human, it's a demon!" Her passion for her craft shines through, and she looks genuinely thrilled to show off her deadly art. Usually, she says, one swift strike is enough to kill a target instantly, but now, she's putting on a show just for him. Hitoyoshi sits there trembling, thinking if he ever displeases her, he might be the one on the receiving end. But since he holds no grudges, he doesn't see the need to hire her assassin skills. Besides, he doesn't even know who her master is yet, so hiring her feels premature. Hearing that, Juki looks a bit sad but accepts it. Still, she's well behaved and even bids him goodbye politely before leaving. Meanwhile, Hitoyoshi feels a twinge of guilt. The poor girl wonders what she's hoping for being an assassin without a contract, unsure of where to go next. Suddenly, she hears Hitoyoshi calling her back. She comes over to return the hairpin she dropped, but in a rush, she accidentally bumps her head into a passing car. Thanks to her lightning-fast reflexes, she leaps back to safety. Luckily, neither of them are hurt. Her face is stunningly beautiful, and she even shows genuine concern for him, which moves Hitoyoshi deeply. It turns out this is the first time she's ever saved someone directly, and her heart races with new emotions. Hitoyoshi returns the hairpin and walks her to the door. Just 2 seconds later, he changes his mind, saying he actually needs someone to clean up around the house, asks if she can handle that. Soon they're back inside, talking about her weapon collection. Legend says the blade is humanity's first tool, simple in use, but deadly in effect-tone slash, could end a life instantly. Suddenly, Hitoyoshi feels foolish for inviting an assassin to live with him. He clarifies that from now on her job is just cleaning, nothing more. The dazed maid misunderstands, thinking cleaning means killing. She quickly explains that's just assassin slang, the real task is tidying up the house. Pointing to the huge garbage bags piled up, Juki looks ready to take on the mess. At first, men thought this place was some kind of morgue, even though it felt a little dangerous, since this little one saved her. She refused to see her as a villain. Understanding the situation, the innocent girl asked if she could stay on as long as she did the chores well. The only problem was that she had never touched anything beyond deliveries, so she was pretty clumsy. Feeling useless, she even apologized, fearing she'd be kicked out again, but men gave her a chance. She wasn't exactly effective at chores, but her assassin skills were undeniably top tier. She slipped but didn't fall. Seeing her sadness, Hitoyoshi comforted her, saying it was his fault for assigning unfamiliar tasks so quickly and worse, making her wipe him down. That was just mean. Somehow, that kindness won the little assassin's heart, since no one had ever treated her like that before. He promised not to kick her out, and would even help her improve. After some guidance, the two managed to clean the living room together. Hitoyoshi thanked the pretty girl, which made her beam with joy. When it was time to eat, she asked if the maid knew how to cook. Seeing her puppy dog face, it was clear she had no clue, so the guy let her shower first while he tried to figure things out himself. In the bathroom, Juki pondered Mene's kind words. Who would have thought such kindness still existed? Outside, the young man waited, hoping to see the beauty emerge, but she was still dressed in her original clothes. Meanwhile, Men took charge of chopping vegetables since no one was better with a knife than her. Tossing the cabbage high into the air, with just one breath, Juki sliced it into perfect bite-sized pieces, beaming with pride at completing her cabbage hunt. Next up was preparing instant miso soup and a few quick snacks. There was no time for cooking elaborate meals. Honestly, Hitoyoshi didn't know much about cooking either. He asked if Juki had ever tried tonkatsu before, but she hadn't. To her, as a top assassin, food was only fuel, taste, and presentation were meaningless. She believed food existed solely to sustain life, dismissing flavor as irrelevant. Hearing this, he excitedly advertised, "If a maid eats tonkatsu, the world will change." This dish came from a 60-year-old eatery, a local pride in the town where the Kuda family crafted delicious, affordable meals. That explained why their house was full of empty packaging, just cleverly disguised food containers. Juki listened, still indifferent to the fancy words. At first, she even offered to share all the food with him, but he kindly split the meat into 2 portions for his adorable maid, eating like family. Together, they savored tonkatsu with rice and miso soup, the latter made by the young man himself. Juki tried it but found no flavor at all from the meat to the rice and soup. Perhaps the assassin's lifestyle had dulled her taste buds. Memories flickered in her mind, sensing a subtle difference. This meal was made by Men herself, which made it feel warmer than usual. When asked if it was tasty, she lied to make him happy. Seeing Men smile like that, Juki didn't yet understand this was a kind of power one that warmed her even more than the bath or the food. The young man arranged a room upstairs for his super maid. Though not yet cleaned, changing the sheets and pillowcases was enough to call it a night's rest. In truth, she didn't need much, just a place to stay was enough. Grateful for his effort to prepare a room, the innocent girl took another bite of tonkatsu. Since the special sauce had run out, he guided her on how to recreate it. To their surprise, this time her taste buds returned. It seemed Main's sincere heart had awakened her senses. She had never tasted anything that made her shiver with joy like this before words failed to express it. Her mind drifted to the Kuda family's secret sauce recipe. Night fell. Hitoyoshi found himself crying uncontrollably, as if strangled by invisible hands. He often had nightmares like this, which left him sobbing endlessly. Checking the clock, it was only 3 in the morning, but his stomach was already growling. Usually he kept some instant noodles in the kitchen and went to get some, but strange noises made him think of the assassin maid, worrying something bad had happened, so he peeked in. Juki had changed into a pure white nightgown that made her look like a ghost. But upon closer look she was quite adorable. After tasting that magical sauce, she couldn't resist sneaking down to the kitchen. Realizing her mischief, she apologized, fearing she was eating something precious to him. He didn't blame her. Instead, he felt relieved knowing she wasn't up to anything shady and was just as hungry as he was. Men even planned to cook noodles for both of them. Unexpectedly, Juki said, "If I have to die tomorrow, my greatest wish is to taste that sauce one more time." This moved Hitoyoshi to come up with a new snack idea. He pulled out everything from the fridge to dip in that heavenly sauce. The maid was ecstatic. It didn't matter what she dipped, it was magic. Later, Juki asked about his nightmares, a question that truly surprised him. She explained that when she sneaked down earlier, she heard him groaning. Thinking it might be an assassin attack, she checked with weapons, but found nothing, only that he had cried a lot. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi felt ashamed to show his weakness to a girl. The maid added that in his sleep he had called out "Mom" many times. Unexpectedly, Juki had her own dream talking to the tonkatsu sauce, which promised to last a lifetime no matter how much she licked it. But just as things got intense, she woke up, shattering the beautiful dream. Hitoyoshi was left speechless, unsure what to say. That was her best dream ever before. It was all blood and gore, and waking up never felt this emotional. She wished she could dream it again. Thinking about the giant tonkatsu sauce, she pondered the young man's tears. She felt sad but didn't know how to comfort him. Hearing his deepest pain made her happy in a strange way. She shared how her mother had abandoned her, and whenever she had nightmares, her mother would let her rest her head on her lap. Juki invited him to share that comfort, but he declined, saying he'd only done that as a child. Now he was grown, too bound by social norms. Feeling guilty, she apologized, fearing she had stolen something precious from the young master. But he didn't blame her. Instead, he felt a strange relief knowing the maid wasn't hiding anything. She was hungry just like him, so he decided to prepare instant noodles for them both. Then, out of nowhere, Juki said, "If I have to die someday, my greatest wish would be to taste this sauce one more time." That line struck deep. Inspired by Juki's words, Hitoyoshi sparked a new idea for a light meal. The young man grabbed everything in the cupboard to dip into that divine sauce. The maid's face lit up with joy. Who cares what she dipped? Moments later, Juki asked if he had nightmares. That question caught everyone off guard. She explained that earlier, when sneaking down to eat, she heard faint groans. At first, she thought an assassin was attacking, so she grabbed several weapons to check, but there was nothing, except the young master had been crying a lot. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi felt deeply ashamed that the maid had seen his weakness. She added that in his half-conscious state he kept calling out "Mom" over and over. Surprisingly, Juki also shared her own dreamer conversation with the sauce itself. The source told her, "You're so big, I could lick you forever without running out." But just as the moment grew intense, she woke up shattering the beautiful dream. Hitoyoshi was left speechless, unsure what to say. She admitted it was the nicest dream she'd ever had usually. It was just blood and gore. But after waking, she felt emotions she hadn't known before and longed to dream again. As the source dream faded, the maid spoke softly about the young master's tears, feeling a pang of sadness and not knowing how to comfort him, yet hearing such heartfelt words made her happy. She revealed that after being abandoned by her mother, whenever nightmares struck, she'd rest her head on her mother's lap. Juki invited her to do the same now, but she declined, saying, "I'm grown up now." Fearing it might go against customs, the maid hesitated. Negative thoughts crept in that she was born only to kill. Just when everything seemed about to break, Hitoyoshi suddenly lay down and lifted her spirits. She was already addicted, so why be shy? Juki called her name and gently ushered her into sleep. Or maybe, not looking at those two, how could anyone really rest? During those few days together, Juki kept replaying the rescue scene of the young master. Her heart felt like it was about to shatter, blood boiling with emotions she'd never known. Even when facing dozens of enemies, nothing thrilled her like this. Her body moved on its own, confused by what Hitoyoshi wanted her to do. Waking up to a tidy house, she felt a rare joy. By chopping the floor into pieces, Juki had freed up so much space. The young man thanked her now the house wouldn't be a mess anymore. As they took out the trash, they suddenly found an adorable dog left at the door, accompanied by a note asking to care for it. Hitoyoshi was at a loss for words. The maid read the letter from the previous owner and realized they thought this was a special breed. But, ironically, the more it ate, the bigger it grew, making it impossible to keep at home. The family seemed wealthy, so they wanted to entrust the dog here. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi's frustration boiled over. Who knows if her own family could even care for it. The poor pup's face was just too funny. The young man scooped it up, asking if they should keep it. Of course, how could they just abandon the little guy? In the sweltering heat, relying on her experience, men guessed the dog would only grow big, but was still very young, unlikely to survive more than a few days. Juki had a different view, believing that even though it was young, it could survive. After all, she was living proof, abandoned as a child, left like an animal. This was survival instinct. But if life is saved out of pity, sometimes it only leads to sorrow. That poor pup was abandoned because fate saw it as unwanted, a life no one needed. Without growing strong on its own, it was doomed to fall in the wild. Hitoyoshi warned that rescuing a life carelessly out of mercy only invites future burdens. The young man couldn't grasp the deep meaning behind her words. Juki's warning echoed her own painful past, though comparing it to a dog might be a stretch. After being saved by Juki the day before, Hitoyoshi felt something wonderful. She wasn't rescued out of pity, but because when a life can be saved right in front of you, the body acts before the mind can question it. That, she realized, was pure human instinct. Her mind suddenly illuminated, so that overwhelming feeling was the instinct of a retired assassin. Hitoyoshi, also abandoned once, deeply understood the dog's emotions. So, she decided to keep the pup for a few days. Who knows? Maybe they'd find a new owner soon. Inside, the young man found the little creature charming, plump, and well-behaved, undeniably cute. Wanting to share this joy with the maid, he went to find her, but she was far away and even refused to come. So he brought the pup to her and discovered that despite being an assassin, she was terrified of dogs. Truly ironic, this revelation embarrassed her, because admitting fear of dogs felt humiliating. But honestly, her expression right then was even cuter than the goofy dog. Curious, men asked why she was so afraid. She revealed that as a child, her so-called master had trained her by leaving her alone on a mountain surrounded by 7 ferocious wolves. An experience so traumatic she ended up in therapy. Understanding a bit of Hitoyoshi's thoughts about keeping the pup, the mood turned somber. It was tough here too. Just thinking about it made the maid sad, knowing her own struggles weren't much easier than raising that wild dog. Apologizing to the young master for feeling useless, Juki's heart was heavy. She didn't want anything for herself, only for the little one to find a true home, free from the cold chains of loneliness. Despite knowing how scared she was, the young man pleaded with her to endure a little longer, to understand Hitoyoshiko's feelings. Reluctantly, she agreed to hold the pup, just to see if it would be okay. The result? Well, it left Hitoyoshiko utterly speechless and left the boss terrified of him. The boss assured everyone the pup was gentle and wouldn't bite, but no sooner had she said that than the chubby little guy snapped at her hand, making Juki jump like she'd been reincarnated into a nightmare. To Mien's eyes, this dog was like a mochi puffed to perfection in the oven, soft but dangerous. Hearing this, the maid was shocked. This creature had sharp fangs, fierce claws, and the gaze of a predator, a perfect destruction combo for anyone afraid of dogs. Juki even thought about tossing the pup somewhere else, but luckily Mien stopped her just in time. After that incident, the poor maid probably felt scared for 3 lifetimes. She apologized for her weakness, even though the young master had asked so much of her. But then, she too got bitten once, and that's when she realized the pup was just itching for a good chew. On their way to buy food, the pair stopped by the vet to get a checkup and pick up some essentials. Only then could they truly start caring for the little guy. Inside the store, all eyes turned to the beautiful maid, while the dog stole the spotlight with its antics. She helped pick out quality items that made the pup so happy he practically trembled with joy. By afternoon, the little one was already confidently trotting down the street. Hito Yoshiko thanked her for trying so hard on her behalf. Meanwhile, Dewey saw in the young master a rare kindness, something almost non-existent in the assassin world he came from. Having lived in a harsh environment where failure was unforgivable, the maid felt a vast gulf between herself and others whenever treated with kindness. For Juki, fulfilling orders was simple, but doing what Mien wanted was a whole new, unfamiliar challenge. This struggle led to many failures, yet Hito Yoshiko never scolded her. The weight in her heart grew heavier, fueled by a desperate desire to be useful to Mien to earn her place. The brutal world she came from was like a ruthless game where only the strong survived, regardless of gender or age, as long as you could perform. Survivors like her endured unspeakable trials. But living under the same roof as the young master was different. Despite many limits, Hito Yoshiko never once shouted at her. She wondered if, like the pup rescued as a child, she could feel the warmth of the world and become the person Mien wished her to be. Could she truly stay here? Did this human world need someone like her? Just as she pondered, the puppy tugged her away. Don't let his clumsy look fool you, he's surprisingly strong. The young master happily responded to the maid's desire to leave her old life behind and become normal. That was wonderful news to him, because she had never thought of life beyond killing the only value she knew for survival. Yet Mien said she could abandon all that to live as an ordinary person. She silently wished for another place where she could truly belong. The young man admitted that when he first met her, he too was scared, understandable, since he'd never seen a real assassin before. But after days together, he saw her true kindness. That comment reminded the maid of her childhood, before everything was lost. She wanted the young master to teach her how to be normal. That's a tough question to answer, but her most obvious struggle was failure at work. If she were ordinary, failing now and then wouldn't be shameful. The next day, while the dog lounged comfortably under the cool air conditioner, Juki had to learn how to chop vegetables like a regular person. Thanks to her top-tier knife skills, slicing rhythmically wasn't too hard, just a matter of focus. Suddenly, the dog sneaked up behind her, scaring her badly. Even a deadly assassin could be caught off guard by a pup's stealth. She thought the dog was odd, but on closer look it was trembling not from fear, but hunger. Strangely, Juki understood the pup's feelings, a survival skill of ordinary folks maybe. The creature seemed gentle, so she tried to pet it just as Hito Yoshiko arrived. The maid happily fed the dog, who eagerly devoured every bite. No wonder he was so round and plump, probably part of why he'd been abandoned. With a mix of laughter and affection, the young master named the chubby pup Mochi. Seeing the maid getting better at chopping made him proud, which brightened her spirits. He still had other tasks, so he asked her to play with Mochi to help her live more like a normal person. Hito Yoshiko confirmed that Mochi was very gentle, so there was no problem. Yet in her eyes, the pup was still a fierce creature. Her fear hadn't completely vanished. But if it was the young master's words, she'd believe them. He advised her not to push herself too hard, and expressed faith in her, which gave her an extra boost of strength, so she reached out to pet the goofy dog, who loved it. Juki gradually got used to Mochi, seeing him as small and warm, just as Mien had said before. Only by understanding each other could they see the good in one another. To reward the adorable maid, Mien treated her to okonomiyaki dipped in a special sauce that made Juki truly happy. Seeing her like that, Hito Yoshiko suggested working a bit longer. She initially refused, but ended up holding the plate as if asking for more. So, the work continued. Mien taught her that sometimes selfishness about personal likes isn't a bad thing. Plus, if she had any personal requests, she should speak up, he would fulfill them. This was a little reward for growing close with Mochi. The young man asked when her birthday was, but she didn't know. Her memories only showed she was born on a snowy night in the deep, cold winter. Her name symbolized a snowflake, pure, white, and beautiful. Though calm now, the maid still saw the chubby dog as a fierce beast. Her fear hadn't fully faded, but if the young master said it was okay, she would try. Hearing this, he advised her not to push too hard and expressed trust in her. Feeling a surge of confidence, the maid felt like her strength had increased 100-fold. She reached out to pet the goofy dog, who responded with delighted tail wags, proof that kindness still works wonders. Slowly, Juki began to warm up to the plump Mochi, seeing her through new eyes. Despite Mochi's small size, she radiated a warmth that melted the coldest doubts, just as men had said. Only when hearts truly understand each other can we glimpse the good hidden beneath the surface. That night, men rewarded the adorable maid with okonomiyaki dipped in a secret sauce, a simple gesture that filled Juki with unexpected happiness. Seeing her like this, Hitoyoshi suggested she stay a little longer to help out. Juki hesitated but carried the plate as if silently pleading, so she agreed to keep working. She learned that sometimes, being selfish about what you love isn't a flaw at all, and if there were any other personal requests, she was free to speak up. Everything would be granted. This was her reward for bonding with little Mochi. Curious, the young man asked when her birthday was, but she couldn't remember, her past blurred and vague. All she knew was she was born on a snowy night in the deep winter's cold, and her name symbolized a snowflake, pure, white, and beautiful. Hito reflected, snow can be warm too. Beneath the frozen blanket, life clings on, surviving the harshest chill, only to bloom strong one day. This thought stirred something within Juki. If she stayed here, maybe she'd uncover why this world felt so warm, and why Hitoyoshi's presence made her heart flutter. Dreaming of the future, the maid's joy was unmistakable. A few days later, Hitoyoshi had a favor to ask the maid. He handed her a piercing tool. School was about to start, and he wanted to show off his transformation to his friends. Lacking courage to do it himself, he asked for her help. At first, Juki planned to pierce his ear, but as she hesitated, doubts crept in. Her hands trembled as she questioned if this was some cruel game of punishment. Piercing the master's skin felt daunting, though she'd handled pricks before. This was different, but she set those fears aside because at that moment, they had guests. That guest was Riko, Hitoyoshi's cute little sister, who had come after seeing photos of Mochi sent by her brother. Excited, she came to check out this mysterious maid, only to be greeted by an unexpectedly stunning beauty. Riko lingered, mesmerized, before entering inside. She scolded her brother for keeping the maid a secret so long. The house was spotless, cozy, and even had an adorable doge. Everything added to the charm. That guest was Riko, her adorable little sister. Riko had come over because their brother sent her photos of little Mochi, sparking her curiosity. But to everyone's surprise, the one who opened the door was a stunning supermaid, which only made Riko more excited. She stood there admiring her for a while before stepping inside. Then she scolded her brother for not telling her about their beautiful maid sooner. On top of that, the house was spotless and had an irresistibly cute dog. How could anyone resist? Riko had asked about this before but never got a straight answer from her brother. He thought that if their mother found out, she'd worry a lot, though their father had already agreed to hire a maid. Their family situation was a bit unusual, so Dad would say yes just by mentioning it, leaving Riko unsure if he trusted or spoiled her brother. The most irritating part? Hitoyoshi deliberately kept things secret, even though she knew Riko loved beautiful things. Juki asked why. Since they lived apart, Riko didn't dare share more or even face her brother directly. That was exactly why Juki didn't want to tell her little sister about her adorable maid. Hearing this, Riko turned up the heat on Hitoyoshi for lying so much. After their petty feud, they made friends. Riko called herself Riko the Wise, and when asked her name, the maid said she was Juki, the assassin player type. Riko shared so much that Hitoyoshi was left speechless, forgetting to warn her to keep this secret. They thought the secret would scare Riko, but the opposite happened. She was thrilled, seeing her sister as the most amazing person ever. She even asked for Juki's autograph in her notebook, her face glowing with excitement. Though Juki couldn't write well, she tried to sketch her name just to please her little sister. Riko saw her more as a graceful lady than a cold assassin, radiating deadly beauty just by sitting there. When they finally finished, both siblings were shocked Juki's signature was nothing like they imagined. But since it was signed, they thanked her and praised her handwriting as uniquely stylish. Here, they learned something else. Despite her poor writing skills, Juki's mastery of foreign languages was top tier for an assassin. She had to learn many languages and now spoke 12 fluently. She felt embarrassed about her childish signature, but Riko didn't mind. It actually made her seem even cuter. This made the maid noticeably happier. Suddenly, Riko had a new idea. She wanted to use her sister as the subject of her free research project during summer vacation. Hitoyoshi couldn't stop her and was left pulling her hair in frustration, clueless about what wild things Riko would come up with next. Asking Juki for advice, she naturally agreed it was her little brother's sister after all. Riko's first wish was to witness the assassin instincts of her older sister. Hearing this, Min also warned Riko not to write nonsense in her school report. Riko promised, okay. She just likened Juki to a maid with the aura of a beautiful assassin. Then, Juki invited the siblings out to the garden for a performance, which thrilled Riko so much she became a target for Juki's throwing knife practice. Instantly, Juki flipped through the air, her weapon slicing through an apple placed on Riko's head. Hitoyoshi's heart skipped a beat watching this dangerous show, but with her little sister's goofy grin, it was impossible to be angry. That look on Riko's face, like she was high on excitement, made the whole scene feel both terrifying and heartwarming. It was a moment where danger and affection danced together, reminding us that sometimes, beneath the cold assassin lies a sister who just wants to protect and connect. Looks like everything's fine now. Riko asked where Juki, the maid, pulled out her knives since nothing was visible. Juki revealed she normally hides 16 knives all over her clothes, but after Hitoyoshi's nagging, she's down to just 5 now. One is tucked right over her chest, while the other 4 hide beneath her skirt, 2 on each leg ready to be drawn at a moment's notice. Seeing her lift her skirt like that, even Hitoyoshi had to step in and stop Riko from digging deeper. Besides knives, Juki also wears cute little accessories, like a bell. Riko wondered if carrying a bell wasn't a disadvantage for an assassin. Juki explained that if enemies hear the bell, it means they've already lost, so it's no problem at all. Hearing this, Riko thought Juki was seriously cool and wanted to learn from her. Playing together so much, Riko's little stomach started growling. She smiled and wanted Juki to cook something for her. Riko asked what Juki's specialty was, but the maid wasn't sure if cutting vegetables counted as cooking. Still, she showed Riko her best skills because up to this point, it was all she could manage. Cooking was mostly done by men, or they just bought food. Once Juki discovered a quick and effective way to chop vegetables, she proudly presented a fresh plate of greens. But they couldn't let Riko eat just cabbage, so they headed out to a hamburger stand. By chance, they saw a flyer about the summer fireworks festival starting today. Riko begged to go, and Hitoyoshi didn't object. Juki was excited too, especially to try her favorite rice cake with a legendary sauce at the festival. Just talking about it made Juki drool. She asked the young master for permission to go, and was happily granted it, lifting her spirits. Riko beamed, grabbing Juki's hand to explore. Their first stop was the shooting gallery, hoping to win some plush bears. Sadly, Riko couldn't hit anything, and Juki did even worse, proving that despite being an assassin, she was scared of guns. Next, they tried the fun goldfish scooping game. Juki caught an impressive number, shocking the shop owner. Riko eagerly asked for tips, treating Juki like a grandmaster. Juki said you have to hide your presence from the target and strike quickly. She patiently held Riko's hand to guide her through the moves. Henry, the shop owner, had a kind sister, and even he didn't expect such praise. Afterwards, they stopped by the rice cake stall with a variety of sauces. They drizzled their treats with the sauce that Juki loved, and Riko was delighted. Juki's eating style was quite funny, like a little squirrel, which made Riko laugh out loud. Hitoyoshi couldn't even find words to describe the expression on Juki's face. The shop owner was thrilled seeing her enjoy it so much, and rewarded them with a bottle of sauce and a bag of rice cakes. Juki was overjoyed. Riko dashed off to buy drinks, making men worried they might lose her if she wandered off. So they sat down nearby to wait, but no matter how long they waited, Riko didn't return. For the first time, Juki understood the bittersweet joy of festival fun. She'd done missions during this time before, but never like this. As fireworks lit the sky, her target logged out, blending the festive spirit with an indescribable loneliness. Hitoyoshi seemed to understand something but didn't know how to comfort her. What had happened was already done. Just then, the fireworks exploded overhead, dazzling Juki. She was surprised by their beauty and realized she'd never truly noticed before. It was all thanks to men being there that she could feel this joy. At that moment, Riko returned with 3 bottles of water, and together they soaked in the summer festival atmosphere. Watching Juki smile, men felt a sudden infatuation. Maybe she was falling for her after all. As the fireworks show ended, the 3 held hands and headed home. Riko was completely satisfied, having not gone out like this with her brother in a long time, and even brought home rice cakes and sauce. According to her notes, Juki had eaten 8 rice cakes, so she was strictly forbidden from eating more today. Juki obediently agreed, leaving Hitoyoshi speechless. She couldn't tell who was the older sister or the younger anymore. Suddenly, a thief on a motorcycle sped by dangerously. Luckily, Juki was there to protect Riko, or she would have been the victim. Riko was carried like a princess by the beautiful maid, overwhelmed with joy. Sadly, the rice cakes and sauce got ruined. Hitoyoshi was furious at the reckless thief who caused so much trouble. Touching someone's food like that was unforgivable. Main's words lit a fire in Juki's assassin spirit. She switched to serious mode, taking a shortcut to chase the speeding thief. With the speed and skill of a seasoned killer, she was sure to catch him. Hitoyoshi realized that if he hadn't stopped her, the thief would have been dead. Unlike Men, who was excited to see Juki beat the scoundrel, he was speechless. Why did his sister always pick assassins and fights? They chased through shortcuts, worried Juki might cause trouble around people. She took her throwing knives out, puncturing the thief's tire and bringing him crashing down. Juki approached slowly, not to kill but to punish him with a firm tap on the head. Hitoyoshi even stopped Juki from killing the man. This was a job for the police now. Seeing Juki so happy, the thief even teased her to come back and buy more rice cakes as a reward for her heroic deed. Because of the incident, the siblings decided to escort Riko home safely. Riko acted tough, claiming she didn't need her brother's protection, but admitted today had been fun enough to write a full report. Juki was also asked about school and homework, and she shrugged she'd never really had the chance to go to school like normal kids. She spoke happily about her few school experiences and friends, which made Riko long for the same. At that moment, Riko got a message from their mother, urging the brother to hurry home. Worried, Hitoyoshi insisted on escorting his little sister home safely. She played tough, insisting she didn't need protection, but even she admitted the day had been fun, something worth writing about in a free report. Juki was asked if she had ever skipped homework or school like this before. She smiled, saying such things were foreign to her since she'd never really had a normal school life. Riko shared her own joyful tales of friendship and fun at school, stirring a longing in Juki's heart. Suddenly, Riko's phone buzzed with a message from their mother, urging her brother to hurry. Today, the maid had learned so much it was almost routine for her to hear these ordinary stories, and it made her wish she could experience school too. Then, Hitoyoshi remembered he hadn't even asked Yuki's age yet. If she could attend school, maybe she could make friends and live a normal life. So, he decided to enroll her and see how it would go. Time passed, and Hitoyoshi started a new school year. After the summer's turbulence, his classmates whispered about a beautiful maid in town. The news nearly choked him. Juki had fans now! Some wondered if it was safe to leave the maid at home alone, but he played it cool. Then, a friend revealed she'd met Juki at the library and praised her serious cosplay skills. Just then, the homeroom teacher entered and introduced a transfer student, none other than Juki herself. Hitoyoshi was stunned. To his shock, Juki even took his family name, Yokoya. The teacher explained she was Meien's cousin, which awed the class. She was seated right beside Hitoyoshi, her stunning presence drawing admiration from everyone. The young man realized this whole scenario was Riko's doing. She wanted to play matchmaker for her brother. Juki was thrilled to have surprised men and to have made it into the school. Of course, her achievements were impressive. Juki learned quickly, mastering lessons in just 3 days until there was nothing left to teach her. In fact, she even tutored others, proving herself the ultimate maid. Hitoyoshi asked how she managed to enroll under his name, since paperwork and secrecy were necessary. Juki explained she'd leveraged connections in the underground world, and that the family tie was Riko's idea to ease her acceptance. Despite their age difference, Juki wanted to be in the same class as her master so she could serve him closely while attending school. The secret was kept until the last moment, again thanks to Riko's playful mischief. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi playfully smacked his sister, thinking he'd upset men, but Juki reassured him she wasn't angry, just surprised. This arrangement was perfect because it let the maid live the normal life she'd always dreamed of. The next day, while classmates rushed to buy snacks, Juki insisted on eating a rare CUTE cake. Normally, Hitoyoshi would go to the convenience store alone, but he reluctantly agreed this time. The CUTE cake was a rare treasure at school. If you didn't act fast, it would vanish. Hearing this, Juki's eyes sparkled like a treasure hunter on the brink of discovery. Men noted the incredible speed of the other students, and the CUTE black sandwich was located far from the classroom, almost impossible to compete for. But Juki wasn't about to give up. She called on her master's teachings. When hunting, even if it's a lose-lose battle, the prey must be caught. She vowed to bring back the prize no matter what. Without hesitation, Juki climbed to the rooftop for a better vantage point. Hitoyoshi wanted to stop her, worried someone might see, but she didn't care. She charged forward, running like the wind, leaving her master helpless. That hungry expression reminded Hitoyoshi of his sweet little sister when sweets were involved. He knew that for those craving delicious treats, nothing could stand in their way, not even money or logic. This was a mark of true female power, one he could never rival. If this was Juki's approach to living like a normal person, then perhaps she was taking a wildly different path. Meanwhile, the CUTE's elite guards were sprinting below fastest legs in the school, always first to the snack stalls to secure their favorite treats. They trained relentlessly. Hitoyoshi worried that at this speed, his maid would reveal her true nature in front of these wild competitors. But Juki was unstoppable, driven by hunger and determination. Her pursuit was more than just about kaikite, was a fierce declaration that even in a world so strange, she could claim a taste of normalcy. Watching her, Hitoyoshi wondered, in this mad dash for a simple delight, What does it say about the lengths we go to chase our desires? As the elite pack closed in fast, the rooftop chase became a thrilling, spectacular clash of wills, speed, and hunger. Would Juki's spirit outpace them all? In this crazy race for a rare snack, the lines between servant and master, normal and extraordinary, blurred into an unforgettable moment. And maybe, just maybe, that's what it means to truly live. But those who succeed always carve their own path. Juki didn't bother running alongside others, she leapt straight to the top. With the precision of a once-famed assassin, she effortlessly became the first to reach the dining hall. After smoothing her delicate, graceful appearance, she stepped inside and asked to buy one of each type of pastry. Yet, in the end, they only allowed her to choose either a cake or a sandwich. So, Juki had to apologize for not fulfilling the young master's task. She planned to bring back his favorite dish, but the young man declined, saying he'd eat anything as long as she was happy. Juki double-checked if she could eat it all herself. Hitoyoshi agreed, having sampled a few already, and besides, these were her spoils, sharing them felt wrong. At first, he wanted to scold his crazy sister for her reckless antics at school, but her adorable face made him relent. Eating the treasured treat she liked, Juki looked genuinely joyful. To double the happiness, the maid sister broke off a piece and fed it to the young master. Hitoyoshi felt shy, but with no one else around, he opened his mouth to enjoy it. The cake was delicious on its own, but now, in the hands of this beautiful girl, the taste was beyond words. That evening, the sweet little sister came over, saying she would sleep here tonight. Hitoyoshi seemed displeased, but Riko scolded him, saying, "You can be passionate with Juki every night, tonight's my turn." Riko longed for a beautiful older sister like that, so this was a special event time to share secrets before sleep with the assassin. There was so much to do and talk about, after all they were all girls. Riko sometimes imagined Hitoyoshi as the new woman in the house, a thought that terrified her. Since learning that Juki lived here, Riko had a brilliant idea as he wanted her brother to marry the maid. Wouldn't that be a perfect match? This was the heartfelt wish of the little sister. She teased, saying she thought Juki loved her brother deeply, which made Hitoyoshi believe it for a moment. Normally, Juki showed no sign of romance, but as a girl, Riko understood her feelings better. Yet, Juki's face didn't change when she fed him the other day, no bashfulness at all. That only made Riko more convinced of this love affair. She thought the maid truly adored her brother. Now it was just a countdown until he was old enough to marry. Riko even asked what kind of wedding gift would be best. Hitoyoshi thought Riko was rushing things, but she believed their mother would approve immediately. The father? That was another story. He was as stubborn as Juki. Riko suggested combining Western and traditional wedding styles for the ceremony. Later, when Juki stepped out and the siblings talked about marriage, Hitoyoshi felt too shy to speak. Riko, on the other hand, was excited, wishing the maid would become her sister-in-law. She asked Juki directly if she liked her brother very much. Juki admitted it openly, saying she admired the young master greatly. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi's soul seemed to soar with joy. Riko then asked for a persimmon to eat, which Juki peeled and served with sauce to enhance the flavor. The little sister curiously asked why Juki usually didn't wear makeup but still had such flawless, pale skin. Juki modestly said she just lightly applied foundation in the morning. Riko thought her natural face was adorable, exactly the dream look for so many girls. But for an assassin like Juki, such thoughts didn't even cross her mind. The little sister imagined that having such a beautiful older sister might bring many troubles, while she herself... Sentence incomplete. Nothing about me stands out, so I told myself that when I grow up, I'll have to master the art of makeup to shine. But that girl, she said she really liked Riko's face. It was cute, full of expression, not one note like mine. Hearing that, I suddenly found myself admiring her too. It felt like a rare gift, being complimented like that besides my parents. Who else says such things? Especially that brother of mine who never praises his adorable little sister. I asked if I could be like that girl. She said ever since discovering that special sauce, her skin had become softer and smoother. She encouraged Riko to try it regularly. Hitoyoshi, a bit clueless, just watched their conversation. Then the little sister tried the sauce herself. At first, she thought it would taste like watermelon dipped in salt, simple and ordinary, but to her surprise, it was delicious. Watching this, the young man thought maybe they were on their way to becoming true sisters. A normal life like this must be thanks to Riko. Girls just get each other better, don't they? Seeing Hitoyoshi lost in thought, the little sister guessed he was dreaming about marrying Sister Yuki. That girl still didn't understand, and shyly asked to change the subject, but Riko wasn't letting go so easily. She explained that in Japan, when a brother turns 18, he can get married, and by then the maid could even take the family name. Our home always felt like the little sister was too free-spirited. Hitoyoshi didn't know how to stop her. Then he was asked if he'd be happy to have a beautiful wife. Of course, he blushed red. Seeing his brother agree, Riko thought this was some kind of solemn vow between them. The next day at school, Hitoyoshi's mind was still tangled up in last night's events. He couldn't focus on the teacher's lecture and ended up with a chalkboard eraser smashed into his face. Juki, sitting in front, sliced it in two, with a knife doubling his misery. The whole class was shocked, and the teacher nearly had a heart attack. If this got reported, it might be the end of him. Hitoyoshi then wandered to the nurse's office to get checked out, worried mostly about the maid more than himself. Today, Nurse Maruyama was absent, replaced by a new nurse named Nita. When asked what happened, Hitoyoshi explained that 2 pieces of chalk had flown straight into her eyes. She asked him to lie down on the bed, which felt a little strange. His instincts whispered that this nurse was hiding secrets. Nita asked if he was the boyfriend of that beautiful girl. Ruki had told her she'd seen them together this morning and was curious. Hitoyoshi claimed she was just his cousin. Nita laughed, clearly thrilled, and flirted with him, saying she really liked his face. After checking his eyeballs were fine, Nita playfully pinned him down, making the young man scared, realizing he was just a tasty snack to her. She thought his cute face was irresistible. Just as she was about to pull down his pants, Juki burst through the door, sensing danger for her master. The eyes of these 2 powerful women locked in a deadly stare. Hitoyoshi cried and ran to the maid for protection. The nurse laughed it off, saying she was only joking and wouldn't actually eat him. She compared him to a trembling hamster and herself as the cute little cat teasing him. Juki didn't answer when asked if she looked like the cat. Hitoyoshi was the most innocent, still unaware of who they really were. The maid had to pull her master close, making him feel loved and protected. She warned the nurse to stay away, which made him think she was jealous. They left quietly, tension thick in the air. Juki dragged the master away and apologized for hurting his eye. He hoped for a confession but got none. The maid revealed the woman from earlier was definitely one of her kind of fellow assassin, but her purpose here was unknown. At this moment, all the joyful memories from last night were overshadowed. Nita had come expecting a mission but found herself playing house instead, wanting to crush it all. She was obsessed with money and dreamed of living surrounded by good men on the famous island of Santorini. To achieve this, she collected info and committed countless murders. Now, she'd found a Parisian, adorable maid assassin nicknamed Shui. Back at Hitoyoshi's house, Juki couldn't sleep, worried about her master always being noticed by girls. She feared the suspicious presence at school might strike any time. Her mind raced with the possibility that if she looked away, Hitoyoshi could be torn apart in an instant. When she finally learned who the mysterious girl was, Juki vowed to stay by his side forever. "I can't sleep," she said. "Is there a better way?" Okay, he replied. "Then just lie beside me." This made the young man blush deeply, while Juki was delighted, wanting him to rest his head on her lap. But that would limit her actions if he was attacked. Still, he was happy and couldn't refuse. She was a little shy, but assured him that if a foe dared to attack, she could handle it with one hand. Her skills were so incredible, she only brought a small knife at lunch to stay cautious. If she had more weapons, she'd tear through the enemy like paper. Juki knew the opponent wouldn't be stupid enough to target her directly. Instead, they'd go after the softer target, Hitoyoshi. The maid feared this was revenge from the past and wasn't sure how the enemy had sniffed her out. If so, dragging him into danger would be unbearable, so she vowed to prevent any harm inside the house. Fighting was her specialty. She told Hitoyoshi to sleep peacefully, because to her, he wasn't just someone who gave her shelter, he was the warmth inside her heart. Hitoyoshi felt happy but still worried about her. He wanted to help but felt helpless and scared of losing her. When he tried to open the window for fresh air, Juki stopped him, fearing a sniper might shoot from afar. Suddenly, she caught a whiff of the special sauce's aroma and perked up. It was midnight, no one would be cooking then, so this had to be a trick by that little girl. Just as she let her guard down, Grey caught Hitoyoshi. She scolded the maid for being too Karel's show. Could she fall for such an obvious trap? Grey's fighting style was cat-like, moving silently and gracefully. She called her opponent the White Wolf of Long Sin, born as the 9th child. When Juki tried to intervene, Grey threatened to kill Hitoyoshi. The maid's fury surged, her glare alone frightening Grey. She asked if Grey was ready to endure pain worse than death for touching her. Grey sensed the White Wolf's claws were still sharp and felt a flicker of fear. She had to keep a vigilant eye, always thinking that if she took her gaze away from Hitoyoshi, disaster could strike at any moment. So, until she knew exactly who that girl was, Zuki wanted to be by her master's side, whispering about how she couldn't sleep. "Is there any better way?" she asked, and with a playful smirk she added, "All right, I'll just lie down next to you." This made the young man blush fiercely, while Juki couldn't hide her joy, teasing that she wanted her master to rest his head on her lap. But doing so would limit their movements if an enemy attacked. Hitoyoshi couldn't turn down such a sweet offer. However, he felt a twinge of concern for his sister. Hearing that, the maid beamed with pride, even shyly affirming that if a foe of that caliber came for them, she would still be able to respond with one hand. This only highlighted her exceptional skills. Earlier, she had only carried a small knife, which made her cautious, but with proper weapons, she could have taken down anyone without a second thought. Zuki understood that their opponent wasn't foolish enough to target her directly. They would definitely aim for the softer target, Hitoyoshi. She worried that this was an act of vengeance stemming from the past, questioning how that girl had managed to sniff her out. If that was the case, and she inadvertently put her master in danger, she would have no face left to stay. Hence, she promised to do everything in her power to ensure no harm would come to their home. After all, fighting was the maid's specialty. She reassured Hitoyoshi to sleep soundly, for to her, he was not just someone who offered her shelter, but also warmth in her heart. Hitoyoshi felt a rush of happiness at her words, but he couldn't shake the worry for his sister. He didn't want to lose her. Just as he was about to open the window for some fresh air, Juki stopped him, fearing a sniper might shoot from afar. It was then she caught a whiff of the delicious aroma of cutlet sauce, and her interest piqued. At this hour no one should be cooking, which meant it was likely a trick from that girl. With just a moment of inattention, Gray had already captured Hitoyoshi, criticizing her clumsy mistake. Who lets themselves be fooled so easily? With a cat-like agility, she moved smoothly and called her opponent the White Wolf of Long Sin. Just as Juki was about to intervene, Gray threatened to kill Hitoyoshi, which sent the maid into a fury. Her eyes alone were enough to terrify Gray, as she silently questioned whether she was prepared to endure pain worse than death for daring to lay a hand on her master. Gray realized the claws of the White Wolf were still sharp and became anxious, knowing that with her skills, she wouldn't stand a chance against Juki even if she lived another 1,000 years. Thus, she used Hitoyoshi as a stepping stone to create an opportunity to take Juki down. She set a time of 2 a.m. to meet at the school to rescue her heart. In reality, Juki could have eliminated her opponent at any moment, but since living with Hitoyoshi, she no longer desired to do so. She feared that he would be saddened by the sight of death and would never forgive her. The words of her master echoed in her mind, reminding her that no matter what, Juki would always be a top-tier assassin, forever tainted by the scent of death. However, this time she wanted to change that. She felt responsible for bringing danger to Hitoyoshi. Thus, she resolved to eliminate that girl while erasing all traces of her presence to prevent similar incidents from occurring. But suddenly, just as she was about to act, her thoughts were interrupted. Her master's words echoed in her mind. No matter what, Juki remains the ultimate assassin, forever carrying the scent of death. Yet this time, she wanted to change. Blaming herself for the chaos she dragged in, she resolved to kill that girl for good and erase all traces while still here, to prevent similar tragedies. But suddenly, Maine's heart shifted, her thoughts altered. Only here did she feel loved, free to do what she wanted. Hitoyoshi said he didn't want her to leave, so she changed her plans. Meanwhile, Gray had prepared everything, ready to capture the dragon. Nervous, he feared losing control and looking like a weirdo. Yet this fight seemed perfect for him, and it drove him wild with excitement. How could someone caught by an assassin not be scared? It was as if the spirit of a hero had been born within him. Even with his life in the enemy's hands, Gray threatened, saying he could crush the other's heart, or rather, his spirit at any time. The tragedy all began because Maine's maid believed that the woman was the source of bad luck haunting Hitoyoshi. When asked if he felt hatred or sorrow, Gray's expression was blank. Saying he wasn't scared would be a lie, but deep down, he knew Juki would come to save him, so all he could do now was trust the maid. Gray was surprised and praised her courage as she was braver than she looked. Maybe she was the daughter of some mysterious assassin, able to tame even Shui. But Gray didn't care for him, he just wanted to crush Juki with his own hands. This way he'd earn the bounty and gain fame. Innocently he asked if the term Shui referred to the maid. The one most shocked was probably her, because Gray lived with Shui without knowing her true identity, that Juki was the top assassin maid. To insiders like Gray, she was a monster. Many were dangerous in this world, but Shui was special, killing without mercy or a blink. Calling Juki a killing machine wasn't wrong. As for her identity, she was the fourth child of the Dragonborn Nine Sons clan, her fighting power likened to a dragon, but her title was White Wolf Shui. Longborn Nine Sons was the deadliest assassin organization, drawing talent from across the globe. Legends say that whenever society trembles, their hands are behind it. But with such immense power came many enemies. Simply beheading Shui would make someone famous, increasing their work and bounty-turning dreams into reality. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi looked at her with tired eyes. So that's what assassins are like. He knew Juki was well-behaved, sometimes a bit clueless, but adorable when given a bottle of sauce. Gray had to admit, At first, he thought she was just a simple girl, so he'd been watching them for 3 weeks before concluding that Juki was indeed the White Wolf Shui of the Longborn Nine Sons. The Longborn Nine Sons was the deadliest assassin group, gathering talents worldwide. Rumor has it, when society faces upheaval, their hands are behind it. But due to their overwhelming power, they have many enemies. Simply beheading Shui would catapult someone to fame, increasing rewards and turning dreams into reality. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi gave her a weary look. So that's what assassins are like. He knew Juki was obedient, sometimes a little naive, but utterly charming, especially when rewarded with a bottle of sauce. Gray had to admit, at first, he thought it was a mistake. That's why he'd been observing them for 3 weeks before finally concluding Juki truly was the White Wolf Shui of the Longborn Nine Sons. The most striking moment was when they sat in the garden, casually chatting about marriage. At that moment, she was ready to shoot them, all because the conversation grated on her nerves so much. Hitoyoshi also looked a bit uneasy, but that day was genuinely joyful. Only now did she realize how different men was. No ordinary person could stay so calm and composed when facing life and death, and still manage to chit-chat with her like that. It turns out Hitoyoshi's past is far from just being a timid guy. You have to admit, he has a way of melting hearts. That's why Shui is so enchanted by him. This will be a huge advantage for Gray because the deeper the love, the more vulnerable a person becomes. In this world of big fish and small fish, no one plays by the rules. Everyone uses every trick to achieve their goals. At the appointed time, Zuki arrived and immediately began the rescue. She fired straight at the opponent, but the bullet was sliced in half. This scene could only exist in anime, yet Zuki pulled it off. Rei then activated a trap, causing an explosion right at Shui's feet. She was thrilled to have crippled 2 of White Wolf's limbs, but not for long. She was suddenly slashed. Luckily, Hitoyoshi managed to block it. Hitoyoshi showed concern for his maid. The enemy was playing dirty. She reassured her master, telling him to trust that everything would be sorted out. Hearing this, the rival got furious. Could they casually talk during a fight? It was like they didn't even see her as a threat. She verbally attacked Juki, accusing her of hiding her true identity. Maybe it was guilt being the youngest dragon child in history, yet so many lives were lost to earn that title. If her identity was exposed, enemies everywhere would come hunting, and the whole family game with men would be over. Juki stayed calm, wanting to finish quickly so Hitoyoshi could rest. School awaited him tomorrow. The black cat was pissed. How could the enemy not respect her at all? Meanwhile, the maid imagined a happy family scene. The rival was forced to resort to threats and activated a heavy sniper rifle, aiming directly at Hitoyoshi's limbs. Zuki was frozen, unable to move. Before she could finish, the rival dashed forward with terrifying speed, so sudden it seemed unplanned. Despite the shock, Gray quickly activated her sniper rifle. Zuki didn't care about Hitoyoshi's life, not because of confidence in her skill, but sheer recklessness. She believed her skills could stop the bullet before it reached him. But the enemy's plan was foiled when her phone was destroyed. The outcome was clear. She realized this was someone from the 4th strongest assassin organization in the Dragon 9 lineage, definitely not ordinary. She stubbornly targeted their young man, only to be blasted away, almost fatally. Thankfully, Juki didn't pay attention to the rude words thrown at her. Gray understood escaping the assassin's shadow was impossible. No matter what she did, she would always be Shui. Assassins like her would come for Juki to build their reputation. The maid admitted she used to believe that killing was the only way to survive, the only way to live. But now it was different. She wouldn't kill anyone anymore, nor let anyone die because of her. No matter what happened, she wanted to protect the ordinary life men had given her and decide her own fate. This was a stark contrast to what Gray had heard about Shui, an ultimate assassin who would hunt her prey to the ends of the earth, even to hell. She realized if Juki wanted to kill, she would have done it long ago. Hitoyoshi was happily rescued and taken home by the beautiful maid. The rival escaped death and felt relief. The two were truly interesting together. On the way back, men acted like everything was fine, expressing strong faith in the maid's abilities. Juki felt sad for causing so much trouble for her master and apologized profusely. She even offered to disappear like nothing had happened if Hitoyoshi wished. Hearing that, he took her hand, hoping next time she'd teach him martial arts for self-defense. He gently pulled her along, which touched her deeply. A few days later, Juki began to fit into school life. She became the center of attention, adored by the girls and admired by the boys for her mature beauty. Sitting alone, Hitoyoshi sighed, thinking if the maid got serious, these guys wouldn't stand a chance. Hearing this, Hitoyoshi grasped her hand tightly, yearning to learn martial arts to protect herself next time, but she also pulled Juki closer, touched by her sincerity. Days later, Juki began to settle into school life, becoming the center of attention. The girls adored her, while the boys were dazzled by her mature beauty. Hitoyoshi, sitting quietly alone, marveled if Juki took things seriously. Those boys would surely be blinded by her charm. She was not only stunning but smart and athletic. Hard to believe she was just Men's cousin, who was quite ordinary. As he reflected on the kidnapping incident, a chill ran down Men's spine. Most striking was that this sister Juki was known as Yue, lethal killing machine fueled by rice, and the fourth child in the Longsheng Juzi family. Fortunately, Juki had resolved never to stain her hands with blood again, which brought some peace. Meanwhile, Men still strived to become as normal as possible. Suddenly, Juki glanced at Men and smiled, stirring envy among their friends. Just then, a balloon flew toward Hitoyoshi but was intercepted by Gray. After pretending to be a nurse the day before, Gray had now transformed herself into a gym teacher, aiming to get close to Hitoyoshi. Though her intentions weren't harmful this time, her presence still complicated things for the young man. With Juki already in the picture, adding another relative of Hitoyoshi's was almost too much. Gray acted overly friendly with the student, forcing him to firmly remind her to keep the appropriate distance expected between teacher and pupil. That morning, the duo crossed paths again with the rival from the previous day at school. At first, Men suspected she hadn't given up on assassinating Juki, but the truth was the opposite. Hitoyoshi had no clue this was the infamous Nightcat assassin behind his kidnapping. Thanks to Gray's flawless disguise, this was her true form. She declared herself the new gym teacher and Men's cousin, who recently moved to Tokyo to explain her presence. She boasted her specialty in gathering intel, while Juki was all about wielding knives. If they teamed up, things could get interesting. This person had a strange fondness for that kind of partnership. After witnessing how Hitoyoshi tamed the white wolf Shui the night before, Gray couldn't help but admire him. Who would have thought a legendary assassin would listen to a rookie like him? She even promised to stop hunting her friend because she couldn't win against their bond. And so, a pact was made between these two assassins. No more interference with the pair, plus a supply of Hitoyoshi's favorite CUTE cakes for 3 months. This bizarre agreement caught everyone off guard. Yet, Juki agreed immediately. When Hitoyoshi asked if it was okay, he noticed the maid drooling slightly and understood the reason: unlimited cakes. Plus, in the assassin world, no one's dumb enough to make reckless deals after realizing they can't win. Gray knew that harming Hitoyoshi would bring no benefit, and even if trouble arose, Men would come to the rescue just like before. Juki bluntly stated that even if there were 1,000 more like Men, it wouldn't matter a bit. Gray, considered a low-tier player in their deadly game, was secretly annoyed. But the truth was clear. This alliance forged in strange conditions was stronger than anyone expected. And beneath the layers of rivalry and danger, a fragile harmony began to take root. In the end, it wasn't just about power or bloodshed, it was about trust, surprising friendships, and the quiet promise not to let darkness consume them again. If you've ever felt powerless like these characters, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, how did I survive my darkest days? Sometimes, what we need isn't strength, but someone who believes in us, just once. Thanks for sharing this journey with me. But you know, when people say something that hits too close to the truth, what can you do? She decided to silently watch over those two out of pure curiosity. This is exactly why the beautiful teacher leans so often on Hitoyoshi's shoulder. Truth is, she's not a fan of PE, but this was the only spot in school where she could slack off. Plus, as the nurse, laziness was somehow allowed. So she chose to become our class teacher, just to keep a close eye on things. It was confusing at first. Gray said he'd watch silently, yet he kept chatting with me like we're pals. Sometimes he even teased Juki, making the other girl jealous. When she saw her master being messed with, she smashed the volleyball right into the wall to put the whole class on notice. Everyone froze, and even the teacher knew better than to approach Hitoyoshi again. Luckily, the girls were innocent enough to cheer on their friend knocking the ball clean through the net. Even the maid joined the club. Gray chuckled at that. In class, there was this one lazy student who surprisingly kept an eye on his shoes. When the laces came undone, he was about to remind him, but the sniper's intuition kicked in and tied the laces for him. During lunch, the maid felt a little embarrassed for showing off some strength earlier. Hitoyoshi defended her, saying it wasn't her fault, the kid just kept teasing her. When asked about her feelings, she was unsure. Even knowing Gray wasn't an enemy anymore, seeing him close to that girl made her want to throw a punch. Her mind was clouded. She didn't want anyone in the underworld but herself to be near Hitoyoshi. Gray understood this jealousy and calmly said it was normal human emotion, telling the maid not to worry. Hearing this, the supermaid's joy only deepened, which made the master's heart ache because she was just too adorable. The next day, they found some time together when school was out. Bailang Shui returned to her role as the charming maid, tidying up and helping out at home like a pro. No need for Hitoyoshi to worry anymore. Since before she used her hands for everything, seeing the washing machine clean the clothes so perfectly made her happyless effort, plus the clothes smelled fresh and soft. She even bragged about it to the sleepy master, who suddenly perked up, remembering how last month Juki was clueless and kept pouring dish soap into the washer, making bubbles flood the house. After countless failed attempts, the elite maid grew wiser and finally conquered the laundry. Men were secretly proud, praising this huge step forward. Her eyes sparkled brightly, her chubby lips smiling genuinely. Though she looked happy, she was really just hoping for a snack. After feeding the little piggy well, Hitoyoshi planned to buy something for dinner. Right now, all that was left in the fridge was cabbage. She asked Juki what she wanted to pair it with, ready to plan the menu immediately. The maid's mind raced to chopping cabbage to eat with tonkao and CUTE sauce, the usual favorites. Men, ever the doting partner, took her hand and led her to the shop. They were regulars there, so the elderly shop owners treated them kindly and packed a few portions of tonkao to take home. Though weak with age, their passion for their craft was evident. They curiously asked who the beautiful girl was, since she looked unfamiliar. Juki felt like she had found paradise, thrilled because this was the place where the legendary CUTE sauce was made. Seeing the maid like this made Hitoyoshi remember his younger self every time he saw something he loved. His spirits soared. Of course, this was normal human nature. At that moment, Mr. CUTE was slicing meat for them. His hands trembled with age, a deadly weakness for any knife wielder. Yet miraculously, every cut was sharp and precise, expert level even at his age. According to Juki, he wasn't an ordinary old man, he was likely a retired legendary assassin. Hearing that, Min was speechless, thinking his sister was imagining things. Meanwhile, men told Mrs. Fu that their girl loved her sauce. Mrs. Fu was thrilled and now revered as a goddess by the girl for creating such a miraculous dipping sauce. Hitoyoshi praised the couple's fried dishes, always crispy and delicious with nothing to fault. The biggest gratitude came from the maid, who had never truly known flavor before. She only saw food as something to eat, not to savor. But since tasting that divine CUTE sauce for the first time, her taste buds awakened, and her soul was transformed. For her, that sauce was crucial. Every bite warmed her heart and brought happiness she couldn't put into words. Hearing this, the old lady was happy for the sweet girl, and explained that maybe Juki's heart was already warm inside, which made her recognize the sauce's brilliance. This stirred memories of the love Hitoyoshi had created from their very first meal together. His warmth had enhanced her taste immensely. Just as emotions surged, the old man patted her on the shoulder, startling her. Such a gesture was rare for a top assassin, only confirming her belief that Mr. CUTE was indeed a legend. The couple also invited Juki to try their new sauce recipe. Suddenly, the maid transformed into a loyal puppy, obediently tasting it. At the very first sip, she knew it was insanely good. That night, the couple enjoyed a joyful dinner. Men was sent to rest early, leaving dishwashing to him. Sitting there, he reflected on all that had happened, amazed that the adorable maid was once a deadly assassin. He wanted to ask more about her organization, but feared causing trouble. Luckily, she didn't want to talk about it, so he let it be. The mood lifted into a whimsical dancer naturally expected from a human soul. Meanwhile, Mr. CUTE prepared to slice the meat. His hands trembled with age, the fatal weakness of a knife wielder. Yet, by some miracle, each cut was precise and clean, showing professionalism beyond his years. According to Juki, he wasn't just any old man, he was likely a legendary assassin, now retired. Hearing this, Min was speechless, thinking Juki might be imagining things. By the way, she told the chef that her family loved the sauce he made. The chef was pleased and became a kind of goddess in the eyes of the girl for creating such a magical dipping sauce. Hitoyoshi also praised the couple's fried dishes, always crispy and fragrant, flawless in every way. The most grateful was the maid, who had never truly experienced taste before. She used to see food merely as fuel, not something to savor. But from the first bite of that divine sauce, her taste buds awakened, and her whole soul seemed transformed. She said that for her, CUTE's sauce was very important. Each taste warmed her heart, filling her with indescribable happiness. Hearing this, the old lady was happy for the sweet girl. She explained that perhaps Juki's heart was already warmed from within, allowing her to recognize the sauce's true flavor. This echoed the love Hitoyoshi had created during their first meal together. His warmth had elevated the flavors, making everything more vibrant. Just as emotions swelled, the chef suddenly tapped the maid's shoulder, startling her. This was nearly impossible for a top assassin, confirming his identity as a legend. The couple also invited Juki to try a new sauce recipe. Hearing this, the maid obediently turned into a loyal puppy, slowly tasting it. At her first sip, she was blown away by the incredible flavor. That night, the pair enjoyed a joyful meal. Men was sent to rest early, the dishes and washing could wait. Sitting in the chair, reflecting on everything, he marveled that such a cute maid could have once been a deadly assassin. He wanted to ask more about her organization, but feared causing trouble. Thankfully, she didn't want to talk, so he let it be. Suddenly, memories of his mother leaving home flooded back. Back then, Rico followed their mother while men stayed with their father. Though separated, she said her son could visit any time. Even knowing this, parting was still painful. Suddenly, after waking, the young man found himself holding Juki, who looked worried because he'd been crying in his sleep. He wasn't fully awake yet, but the emotions lingered strong. When she suddenly felt something soft against her chest, she jumped back and quickly apologized to the maid, explaining she'd just had a strange dream. No worries, Juki still wanted to help her find peaceful sleep, so she asked to lie on her lap like before. Meanwhile, the young master happened to be digging up info about Long Sin-ku online and shyly admitted wanting to know more about her, but couldn't bring himself to say it out loud. The maid confessed she didn't know much about that organization back then. Their master only followed orders blindly, never caring which faction they belonged to. Of course, she'd met other members a few times but didn't even know their names. So it wasn't that she refused to share, there simply wasn't much to tell. Those days were very different. Now, her only wish is survival, putting everything else aside, even her own worries. Her biggest fear was failing her master's mission and losing her place, which kept her from truly adjusting to the human world as it is today. The chirping birds, the morning sunlight, it all felt so strange she sometimes thought she was dreaming. The maid hoped that one day she could finally grow accustomed to this life. If that happened, she'd become an ordinary person, just like Hitoyoshi. Thinking about that, Juki felt a spark of joy, and the young man did too. He said every morning waking up and seeing his sister gave him peace. He thanked her for choosing this home to stay in despite all the chaos. After pouring out their feelings, he suddenly felt like he was confessing, which made the supermaid a little shy. She even explained why she wanted him to rest his head on her lap, a gesture that made her feel useful to Hitoyoshi. From now on, if nightmares came, her young master could always find comfort sleeping on her lap. Hearing this, Min felt peace wash over him, as if Juki was stepping into the place his mother left behind. A few days later, when the maid went shopping alone, she noticed people staring. The reason? Her adorable face and the maid outfit straight out of a movie. A little girl eagerly ran up and started chatting, confessing how much she loved this maid outfit and wanted to be like her big sister. Juki's heart lifted at being cherished, and the girl even asked where she got the outfit, since normal people never wore such clothes. This struck deep into the soul of someone longing to be normal. Juki pondered this as Hitoyoshi was nearby, ready to escort his future wife home. She asked if the maid outfit was considered unusual, and realized she had never noticed before. The next day, he dedicated a whole day to shopping for new clothes for his sister. Surprisingly, Rico and Gray showed up too. After asking about the shopping via messages, they decided to go together. What was strange was why the lady was also there. Turns out Gray had overheard the couple's conversation at home and got curious enough to follow. Hitoyoshi forbade eavesdropping, but Gray still hid a listening device in the house. The maid apologized, thinking she'd destroyed all such devices, yet one still lingered in the living room. She claimed choosing clothes for her daughter required backup, though she probably couldn't handle it alone. The young man found this group unsettling but accepted their company. Rico was surprised to discover his beautiful sister was also an assassin. The cute little sister charmed Gray, who cuddled her and quickly bonded with her. Gray found the girl fascinating and adorable, just like his brother, so he was thrilled. Strange how no one in the family feared assassins. Later, they arrived at the store Rico recommended, expecting a normal shopping trip, but the girl led them straight to the maid outfit section. The outfits looked pretty but didn't suit her as well as the old one. Hitoyoshi was at a loss, powerless to stop his sister's whims. Juki criticized the new outfit. It wasn't as agile as before but was undeniably cute. Rico decided to buy it as a gift for Gray, who playfully suggested visiting another area to check out flashier outfits, something too bold for the streets. Juki agreed, noting it was hard to hide weapons now. Gray wondered why she quit being an assassin if she still carried blades. His sister smiled, saying she felt safer with a knife nearby. Well, that was that, no arguing with her on this one. What was that? He just told those two to stop causing trouble. Next, they headed to the fashion store to try on the maid's perfectly tailored outfits. She looked stunning, especially in the swimsuit that revealed every curve. Gray couldn't help but feel uneasy. Rico said his sister resembled a model, and asked Men what style she preferred. Men thought a white dress would be perfect, subtle yet elegant. Hearing that, the other girl felt a pang of jealousy, noticing Men answered instantly like she'd planned it all along. After wrestling with choices all afternoon, they finally settled on a few outfits. Instead of picking, Men decided to take everything Juki had tried on to save time. Their family's wealth made this shopping spree feel effortless. They also took the chance to buy costumes for the girls since Halloween was coming up. Rico's eyes lit up with excitement, eager to find the perfect outfit for a boys' Halloween party. May was surprised and asked if they were celebrating this year too. Knowing their mother eagerly awaited the day, they all chose their costumes to prepare for Halloween. Seeing the young mistress so joyful made the maid happy as well. Hitoyoshi noticed a horror film playing nearby and invited everyone to watch. He loved this genre, but the maid refused, explaining the cinema was like a workplace for her and left immediately, too scared to stay. Hitoyoshi tried to act brave, pretending it was no big deal. Later, the four of them went to the movie. 3 enjoyed it, but 1 quickly fell asleep. During a scene full of zombies eating flesh, Juki suddenly showed fear, just like the other girls. From then on, they realized she was terrified of zombies, which puzzled Riko. Considering her skills, she should have handled them easily. Juki explained it wasn't about danger, but the stench coming from the corpses. Plus, zombies were dead yet still moving, which terrified her. Watching this, Men thought his sister was naive, but understood she'd never seen such horrors before. In reality, killers don't come back from death like in movies. Hitoyoshi chuckled at how a top assassin could be scared of zombie-sit was truly ironic. On their way home, Hitoyoshi bought cake for the 2 kids, delighting Riko. The younger girl let her sister taste it and confirmed it was delicious. Gray tried to feed some to the young man, but he declined. Their cozy outing caught the attention of a classmate admiring Juki. Suddenly, a large man approached, warning Naka about her relaxed attitude and reminding the family's agents to stay vigilant. They seemed like assassins themselves, so the younger sister had to watch her surroundings carefully. Both were on their way to training, so they brushed off the warning. Naka was grateful to Tsu for taking the time to help her improve. The other 4 didn't realize they were being watched and arranged to hang out again soon. Gray cherished the younger sister and happily agreed. When it was time to part, Men had to say goodbye because his house was in a different direction. He walked his sister home while Men sent Juki off to prepare dinner. Suddenly, Juki felt like someone was following her and caught her reflection in the mirror. She looked sad, still struggling to believe she had come this far. On her way back, memories flooded her about the maid outfit she often wore and the image of her former master who had gifted it to her long ago. That gift was why she wore it. No one expected she'd have to give it up to chase her dreams, leaving her heart a little heavy. Quietly, Juki returned home, lost in thought. Later, inexplicably, she chose to wear the old outfit again. Outside, dark clouds gathered, hinting at rain, so she prepared accordingly, worried Hitoyoshi might get wet. Little Mochi was as playful as ever, demanding attention whenever someone appeared. Since the couple left early, the dog was left alone and rambunctious, soaking a bone in drool. Hitoyoshi hadn't returned yet, and Juki hesitated about washing Mochi's toy but finally resolved to clean it, knowing dirt could make her sick. Mochi seemed to understand and took the towel away to a different spot, refusing to let it be washed outside. Meanwhile, Men was heading home, worried about his sister because thunder rumbled in the sky. Soon, the power went out, and eerie sounds outside reminded Juki of scenes from a horror film. Mochi tried to hide the precious towel but got it stuck on the wall, ruining it. Then the dog knocked over a pot, creating strange noises that startled Juki. Truly, she was a white wolf still human at heart. She was too scared to open the door and check, fearing a zombie attack. After a while, worried for her pup, she mustered courage, grabbed a knife, and went out to save Mochi. But the dog simply dragged the soaked towel outside, scaring her silly. When Men returned, he saw the towel cut into pieces and could tell Mochi was upset. The maid explained everything to the young man, who wasn't surprised he had guessed something would happen. Juki comforted Mochi, promising to fix the toy later. Men saw the mess and doubted if it could be repaired, but Juki was determined she knew how precious that item was to the dog. Meanwhile, Hitoyoshi asked why she still wore the maid outfit, thinking Men didn't like the other clothes. But that wasn't it. Going shopping and choosing clothes together was happiness enough. She just couldn't give up that gift. Juki shared how she used to serve her old master as both assassin and maid. This outfit was a treasured gift from him. Though he had passed, she still respected him deeply. The maid uniform was the last link between them. Before his death, he had encouraged her to abandon the assassin's life to live normally. At the time, Juki hadn't fully understood his words and served him as a killer until the end. Meeting Men helped her see things clearly. That made her cherish her old master even more, so she wore the maid outfit to remember him always. It was also why she was allowed to stay here. Even if the outfit seemed odd, she wished to wear it, until it wore out. Hitoyoshi asked if she thought this was strange. Men said this wish was perfectly normal. Seeing an assassin afraid of zombies was odd enough, but wanting to wear what you love, when you want, was just human. Everyone has fears, even of things that don't exist in reality. That doesn't make it abnormal. He taught her about feelings, helping her understand she could pursue her dream of normalcy in her own way without rigidity. Hearing this, Juki was happy, especially with Mochi's support. Realizing dinner was almost ready, Mochi forgot about the torn towel and ran around excitedly. That was the reason she wanted to stay here. Even if the outfit wasn't ordinary, she still wished to wear it until it wore out. She asked Hitoyoshi if that desire was strange. He thought it was perfectly normal. He found it funny that a deadly assassin like her would be scared of zombie sit was almost absurd. Noticing she cared about Gray's words, he reassured her she wasn't strange at all. Wanting to wear her favorite clothes whenever she pleased was what made her feel human, and being afraid of something that didn't even exist? Everyone has fears. That couldn't be called abnormal. He taught her about emotions, helping her understand that her dream of becoming normal could be achieved in her own way, no need to be rigid. Hearing this, Juki was genuinely happy, especially with little Mochi's support too. Excited to eat soon, she completely forgot about the scarf and started running around in a frenzy. Then she realized the tattered blanket was the very thing that had stayed with the little dog when abandoned at home. Maybe it had been with Mochi since she was a baby. Hitoyoshi thought the scarf helped Mochi remember her parents, so she never let anyone wash it. Hearing this, Juki became even more determined to restore that treasured item. Before dinner, she said she now understood a bit of Mochi's feelings, because she herself never wanted to lose her maid outfit. The bell on Mochi's head was also a connection to a separated younger sister. Men was surprised to hear she had a younger sibling like herself. The next day, they told Gray about this, hoping she could help find the lost sister. The maid thought Gray would know, so Hitoyoshi invited Andram Man along, but the girl was too clever to reveal anything. The only clue in this case was the bell worn around the neck and the name Hua. Who could find her just from that? Gray loved eating noodles, so she used that as an excuse to get men to treat her, saving herself from spending. In no time, she finished the special bowl, while the other two were still preparing theirs. She commented on the pure flavor, there was no mistaking it. Juki could feel the depth of that delicious taste. Then suddenly Gray dumped a whole heap of her favorite sauce into the ramen before eating, putting on an innocent, blissful face that only a troublemaker could pull off. It made the cat assassin see that after all, when eating ramen, one should savor the broth fully, not drown it in sauce. After finishing, they went to refuel, but Gray's landlady told them that lately, so many students were buying sauce that there was none left for sale. The maid was shocked. Hitoyoshi realized a festival was coming up, which explained why everyone was rushing to buy the sauce. The landlady had to apologize because, even if they placed an order now, it would take at least a week to arrive. Hearing this, Juki's mood plummeted like a roller coaster. Still, she thanked the landlady for always making the exquisite dipping sauce. But with the limited supply left, it definitely wouldn't last her through the week. Despite this, Juki thought she had to truly cherish every last drop until the very end. Trying to ease her worries, Hitoyoshi changed the subject and asked what she would say first if she reunited with her sister. Juki said her memories were hazy, she barely remembered her sister's face, and the images of her parents had almost completely faded away. By the time she realized it, she had already become a ruthless assassin. The only link between them was that bell. It was a gift from their mother to both sisters, and Juki always believed that one day, through that bell, she would find her lost sibling. But sadly, 10 years had passed with no clues. She feared facing her sister, thinking she might be filled with resentment. Right now, all she wished was for her only remaining family member to find happiness. Hitoyoshi silently vowed to do something to lift the maid's spirits. It seemed their story had caught the attention of 2 classmates who came over, guessing that Juki's sister must be incredibly beautiful since Juki looked like a supermodel. Interestingly, Tiger and Kobachi, who were usually close to Hitoyoshi, shared that he had just won a rare signed vinyl from singer Nasuka, who was scheduled to appear at the upcoming festival. More importantly, they noticed how close the couple had become, which made the guys a little jealous since the area around men was full of girls. Still, Tiger was glad for Hitoyoshi, because ever since his relatives arrived, his face looked much brighter. Back in middle school, the guy was always tense. Kobachi recalled some wild incidents from that time, like rebellions against his father and even adolescent syndrome. Hearing their teasing, men tried to stop the maid from understanding the jokes. They gave an example. Hitoyoshi wearing a winter coat in the summer, probably the only one at school crazy enough to do that. Hearing this, Juki found herself smiling too, feeling the warmth of change. The easiest sign was how he now kept the house spotless, since they started living together, a small but bright spark in their shared world. Ever since middle school, things have been messy. Hitoyoshi tried to shut Tiger up, but he wouldn't let anyone speak. Ironically, he dropped an important plate into the drain. Ruki reacted fast, tossing her bag to catch it, but accidentally, the priceless treasure shattered. The final bottle of sauce was lost. The shock hit her so hard that night. She dreamed of heart-wrenching scenes. The next morning, when Hitoyoshi checked on her, her face was pale beyond words. She said she dreamed of losing the legendary CUTE sauce. Taiga was at a loss. Surprisingly, she imagined her sauce friend in the dream. The teenager was advised to endure until next week since the order was already placed. Of course, Ruki understood, but feared losing the sauce would steal her peace of mind. And indeed, the next 2 nights, she was haunted by nightmares so bad she had to sneak into the master's room to sleep. Those terrifying dreams left Hitoyoshi troubled. He needed to study all night for tomorrow's exam, yet he managed to talk with her during breaks. She spoke of M's caring nature, noticing how he paid attention to everything around him. Hearing that praise, Hitoyoshi felt a warmth inside. Then she asked if he had ever truly hated anyone. He thought no one had ever been bad enough to say such harsh words except his father, whose presence fractured their family. Their relationship wasn't broken, just distant and hard to understand. Hearing this, Juki recalled the painful words from her little sister, who once told her she hated her. Suddenly, she wanted to retreat to her room, citing study distractions. Taiga worried she wouldn't sleep well. Later, the maid dreamed of being scolded by the sauce bottle for abandoning it, and she believed Juki was hated because all she did was kill. Sawakuta pointed out that Juki was also troubling her family now. Taiga realized she didn't actually need anyone's care, because Riko was always by her side. Flashback to Juki as a child prodigy. At 7, she spoke 15 languages fluently, thanks to her parents who were interpreters. Despite her fame, all she cared about was her parents' smiles, believing this happiness would last forever. But on Juki's 8th birthday, tragedy struck. During the celebration, intruders came, and when she opened the door, her parents were taken away. Their target was the child prodigy. Juki blamed herself for their deaths and feared she'd endangered her sister. After tears ran dry, the assassin blood within her awakened, turning Juki into the youngest deadly hunter. Her sister, unable to accept this, left her side. From surviving by killing, the maid became a professional assassin under a master's guidance. Worried about her sister, Hitoyoshi ran over to check on her, only to find her crying desperately. His muse collapsed into his arms, reliving past pain with an indescribable sorrow. Juki was gently lifted onto the bed, clinging to him. Though she knew she was troubling him, she begged to stay close. He had never seen her hands tremble like that, and finally understood. When he asked if she'd had a nightmare, she revealed it wasn't a dream, but a painful memory resurfacing. He comforted her, promising the tears would stop if she let him soothe her back. The feeling was like a heartbeat from a mother, something he learned from his own mom. Juki felt his heart and found comfort, drifting back to sleep. The next morning at school, Taiga was surprised that Juki knew nothing about the CUTE festival. She guessed it was just some kind of celebration, but it was much bigger. The upcoming biggest traditional festival of the year included sports, music, and culture competitions. Classes signed up to compete for top ranks. One prize was the legendary Super VIP CUTE sauce, made from a secret recipe. Hearing this, Juki's mouth watered. She was dangerously low on sauce. Kobachi thought first years had little chance against the experienced upperclassmen, who usually dominated the festival. The hardest part would be keeping their class grades high. Hearing this, Juki proudly showed off her recent exam score, barely avoiding failing with 42 points. Yet, her cheerful face hid the truth. Min sadly reminded her that grades affected the festival's scoring, and classes with higher averages had better chances to win. Realizing she was dragging down the team's chances, Juki felt lost. Taiga suggested if her grades were too low, she should focus on practice. That cheered her up. The best part of lunch was when a friend brought her favorite snack. Usually, Gray would take 2, but lately food was scarce, so only 1 was shared. She told them to be grateful without that snack. Juki's maid might not survive the week. Juki even sent a thank you, making the friend shiver in surprise. Who would have thought a rank bottom assassin would be valued by the White Wolf? Juki guessed they'd forgotten her kidnapping incident. Gray chased them off, saying she was busy grading exams. She then asked how their class planned to win the festival, thinking it would be easy for an assassin like Juki. The friend joked that the maid couldn't register for the CUTE festival because she hadn't signed up for the physical test. As a teacher, Gray had to cancel her score to follow the rules, shocking Juki. The teacher had noticed Juki hadn't signed her name and thought she'd save it for last, but she hadn't even bothered. With such average marks and no practice, passing the course was impossible. However, it was too late to change. Gray reluctantly allowed Juki to add her name, but Juki had to withdraw her earlier thanks this teacher was harsh. Why not think that if the exam scores are too low, we should just push harder to practice? That's the spirit. Lifting spirits like that is the best kind of joy. Probably at lunchtime, when that friend brought the favorite snack, the special cake. Normally, Gray would grab 2 pieces, but lately, they've been scarce, so just one was all she got. They should be grateful. Without that cake, my maid sister wouldn't have survived the week. Juki already sent her thanks, making the other side shiver. Who would have thought a low-tier assassin would earn Bach Lang Shui's respect? She figured they must have forgotten about her kidnapping incident. Gray shooed them away, saying she was busy grading exams. Meanwhile, she was curious about what it takes for their class to win first. Prize figured with an assassin like her, it should be easy. So she said, "Just relax and listen." The story unfolded with that friend saying the little maid couldn't register for the Cura Society because she hadn't written her name on the physical test. As Gray, the teacher, had to cancel the exam score to follow the rules, strictly a shock to Juki. The other day, the teacher had glanced over and noticed the friend hadn't written her name, thinking she might leave it until the end. But she didn't even bother to score it, so the average plus the practical test would surely fail the subject. However, by now it was too late. Gray insisted the friend write down her name. Juki had to take back her earlier thanks because she thought the teacher was kind but turned out to be quite petty. Gray gave an ultimatum. If she didn't want to be disqualified immediately, next time during Andram Man, Juki was forbidden to add kuta sauce to change the flavor. Hearing this, Hito Yoshi gave up, not understanding why Gray cared so much. Bach Lang Shui refused the deal, saying there was no other way, then quickly disappeared behind to sign her name in a mysterious way. Gray couldn't figure out what was going on and demanded an explanation. Juki said she didn't do it, and men agreed, thinking the teacher had lost her mind because the exam paper had been signed long ago. Seeing how slick he was with words, Gray had no choice but to give up this time and let it slide. This young man sure was something. Afterward, he acted surprised, wondering how the maid managed to sign so quickly. Actually, it wasn't her. Juki had been helped by another friend named Naka. After finishing, she sneaked away to a corner but was caught by that same friend. She came over to thank her for the help, making the little maid blush, and finally revealed that she had a plan to help the person she admired win the cultural festival. The layers of friendship, loyalty, and silent support unfold here like a delicate dance. Even a small act like signing a name carries the weight of trust and hope in this vibrant school world. Gray's sharp eyes catch every detail, her strictness masking a deeper care for her students. Juki's gratitude and secret plan hint at the fierce determination simmering beneath the surface of these characters' journeys. This moment reminds us that sometimes, the smallest gesture, helping with a signature, sharing a snack, can ripple into something much greater, fueling dreams and forging bonds stronger than any magic or sword. If you've ever felt the quiet power of friendship in your life, this story will resonate deep